Here's the story of Katy. Katy makes sure. There was once a little girl called Katy who found an old shoe inside a hollow tree. It was a funny little shoe with a pointed toe, and it was no more than an inch long. I wonder who it can belong to, she thought, and she slipped it into the pocket of her dress and went on her way. She hadn't gone very far before she heard a sound like this: tippity tap, tippity tap, tippity tap. She looked around a large oak tree and saw a little goblin hopping around on one foot. "Excuse me," she said, "but is this your shoe?" Well, the goblin danced for joy. "At last," he cried, "without my shoes I can't go back to Goblin City." So Katy gave the goblin his shoe, and he put it on and danced around the tree, singing, "Short or long to Goblin City, the straight way's short, but the long way's pretty." Then he stopped and said to Katy, "If you come with me to Goblin City, the king of the goblins will give you a reward." "Well, I could come," said Katy, "but how would we get there?" The goblin just hopped up and down on one leg and chanted, "Short or long to Goblin City, the straight way is short, but the long way is pretty." "But how do I know if it's worth going the pretty way, or if it will take too long?" asked Katy. The goblin jumped in the air, twirled round 3 times before he landed on one toe, and said, "Short or long to Goblin City, the straight way is short, but the long way is pretty." "How can I be sure it's not better to go the short way?" asked Katy. The goblin jumped in the air, landed on his head, and span round and round like a top until he disappeared into the ground, and then reappeared just behind Katy and cried, "Short or long to Goblin City, the straight way is short, but the long way is pretty." "How can I be sure I like it whichever way I go?" asked Katy. The goblin did a somersault and landed on one finger. Then he snapped his finger so hard that he rose into the air, up, and then came tumbling down and landed on a dandelion puffball and cried, "Goblin City is far and near. If you want to make sure, you'd better stay here." With that, a puff of wind caught the dandelion and scattered it to the 4 corners of the world, and the goblin was gone too. And poor Katy never went to Goblin City either way.